Okay, we had that. Oh, I really loved this. This was a conversation between Rachel Morrison and Autumn Durald Arkapaw about being mothers and cinematographers, DPs. Rachel says, I think the tricky thing about the timing for female filmmakers is that we don't get taken seriously until we're 30. Maybe that's changing now, but my experience was that before I turned 30, I was considered too young to be viable. So then you have this window between 30 and 40, something to make a name for yourself. Unfortunately, that happens to perfectly coincide with your biological clock. Right when you're about to break through in your career, you are at your prime to conceive a child. Men aren't faced with the same age restrictions on any level. They can be artistic geniuses at 25, and should they choose to, they can wait until they're 55 to have kids. Many of them even older. They don't have a hard out on their biological clocks. The age barriers don't exist in the same way. It's a universal challenge that's one of the hardest for women to overcome. I imagine it's true for all professions, really. It's often the same 10-year window when we are primed to succeed in both our career and our family. And that is, it's not just that. It's not just like the hard out on a biological clock. It's also that the way that society dictates when women reach a certain age, they should have children. That if I go into my gynecologist now, they'll talk about geriatric pregnancies because of how it's like over 35, I think. It's considered a geriatric pregnancy. Now, women can have children later than I think kind of seems to be the commonly held belief. The fact that it's called a geriatric pregnancy is awful. So it's not just it isn't just what that biological clock actually is. It's how societally that window is even further reduced, because when women get into their 30s, now finally they're allowed to be taken seriously as professionals, but at the same time are expected to have these domestic lives and are told over and over and over again, reminded, your clock is ticking. Your clock is ticking. And even if you don't want to have children, oh, your clock is ticking. Oh, you'll want to have children. Oh, you're going to regret it. Oh, I promise you. Oh, career isn't everything. Oh, you're going to wish. And I think this just really resonated with me because I'm in my 30s and I feel like it's only been a couple years that I have been on this career path now that feels the most stable, that I'm going in this direction. I'm going in this direction that feels good, that feels right for me. And there's a lot of things that I want to do. And more than ever, I'm being reminded, oh, you're a woman in your 30s. Hey, why aren't you married? Hey, when are you having kids? Are you thinking of having kids? Even people who mean well, every time I see them, do you want kids? Do you think you want to have kids? If you want to have kids, when do you think you want to have kids? Oh, are you thinking about having kids? Oh, well, oh, you should get your eggs frozen. Oh, like it's all just inescapable. It's nonstop. And in fact, it makes me not want to have fucking kids. It makes me want to be like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to come. I like want to come out strongly and say no. Even if someone wants kids when they are older, there are so many ways to have. Well, I just think it's the way that women's lives still revolve so much around being mothers. And there are plenty of women who want to be mothers, or, maybe they're sure of it or they're not sure of it. But it does feel like it does feel like the second that you start to succeed in your career, the second that you are at all, seen like you're at a point in your life that now you can be taken seriously. Now you can start getting opportunities that you've worked years for. Then immediately you're faced with the you're faced with the child question, and not even just question, but expectation. And I just think about how there are so many barriers for women to for so many barriers that women face. So many. And how many women, it's like I think about the fact that Autumn Durald Arkapaw is the first woman to win a cinematography Oscar, because cinematography has historically been a craft that only that mostly white men have been allowed to do and therefore have been honored from doing. And it's
Hi,
not
I'm Autumn Durald.
obviously that there haven't been women who are just as talented, just as capable. It's just that the opportunities have never been available, that the barriers to a career as something like a DP have always been so high. And it does make me sad thinking about how many women never got the chance to be a part of this integral aspect of filmmaking. How many of them were so talented, and that talent went unnoticed, unused, or because of children, because of the expectations on women still of being the primary caregivers, of taking care of the home, even when more and more women have become the breadwinners, that has prevented them from reaching their full potential. Can I say one of the most beautiful episodes of Severance was a directorial debut and it was a woman? Yes, I know what episode you're talking about. The film industry kills itself with all these invisible barriers for what is a creative industry. Yeah, I mean, that's been the case for a long time. Anyway, this is Autumn, who won the Oscar last night for Sinners, and she is breaking down center framing for IMAX. Because I'm pretty sure it wasn't just that she was the first woman of color nominated for cinematography and the first woman to win. She was also the first woman to shoot a feature film with IMAX cams. She used a 65 millimeter. Yeah, she's the first female cinematographer to shoot a feature film on 15 perf IMAX 65 millimeter film, often handling the 65-pound cameras herself. And even after they have kids, what accommodations does the workplace have for mothers? You may not be sexist in your hiring, but you can still have barriers from in thriving. It's like school getting out at 3, but most jobs going until 5 or 6. Just those little, just like those, all those things where a lot of women have to make the decision too of how much does childcare cost? How much do I make at my job? You know, what are my options here? They make it they make it so that those barriers exist just all over the place in ways that people don't even always recognize.
Durald Arkapaw, and I'm the cinematographer of Sinners. Ryan sent me the script for Sinners. I didn't know anything about it, to be honest. I think I knew it was a period piece. I knew he wanted to shoot on 16 millimeter. I knew that we were scouting places in the South, like New Orleans or Mississippi. And he sent it to me, and I read it the night before I started shooting The Last Showgirl. And I was in Vegas, and he emailed me, and he's like, I'm sending you the script, sis. Check it out. And so I read it that night, and I was just blown away because, you know, if you don't know anything about the storyline and you read something like that that's so unique, it's the first time we've seen that type of character in a film, in that kind of ensemble, in that kind of period. So it blew me away, and I sent him an email, a very long email. I just, you know, kind of unloaded all my thoughts of how it made me feel and visual stuff that popped out and what I liked about it. He had a really great time shooting with our good friend Rachel Morrison on Fruitvale Station with the Super 16 format. It was something he wanted to kind of get back into and had
Permission
envisioned
to
this
bong? Hell yeah.
being, you know, kind of a down and dirty shoot
Boom,
where
B,
it would
thank
have
you for
this
too
grit
much.
and it was a good way to get in there and do something with our family of filmmakers. So he actually ended up buying a 16 package that my AC built it out for him. So we were envisioning that was the format, and then I was shooting The Last Showgirl on 16, and I had Panavision make me some lenses for that picture. And so it was, you know, it was very much after reading the script in my mind, envisioning it in that format. And it started to kind of progress as we had more conversations with the...
I did love the moment when Ryan Coogler ran to go grab her kid so that her kid could watch her accept the award.
Visual effects supervisor
W
because
kid
of the
retrieved.
twinning aspect in the film and the gate weave that you would get kind of with using the 16 millimeter cameras. So the 35 format has a more stable gate and is just more friendly for the kind of work we had to do. So we transitioned to thinking about the movie in 35. And then Ryan got a call from the studio asking if we had talked about large format. And that caused him to kind of, you know, just open his mind up more. And so he gave me a call right after that, and he's like, let's kind of go out there and test and see what's out there, and let me know your thoughts, and what about the Hateful Eight format, because he was interested in showcasing the landscape in that 2:7:6 ratio in order to see just the vastness of it, and he thought it would be appropriate for the story, but also for that horizon in the south, how much the horizon is important in the storytelling. So we had that conversation on the phone, and I hit the ground running. Afterwards, I called Photochem Andrew Oren there, and I said, do you have any dailies or clips of Hateful Eight, and anything else you could show us in 70 millimeter would be great. And
When you have
films that were
lenses
shot
made for
65,
you,
and
I
then we would
know.
watch the 70 prints. So he put together a little menu of stuff, and Ryan was in town for the day, and we went and looked at this stuff, and it was beautiful. And he got very excited and inspired, and so we set up a test. Something he wanted to do was take these formats and take them out to the desert. And so we went to Lancaster. We put together this shoot, and we shot IMAX 35 and 65, and then we screened those tests at Photochem and at Playa, the headquarters of IMAX. We screened 70 prints of our 2:7:6 65 5 per format, and then we screened our 70 prints at Playa of our IMAX 15 per format. And to be honest, I mean, after you kind of see what you created and a print of it, you kind of can't go back. You can't unsee that stuff. So it was fun because I could tell after we saw that there was no going back. The scene that we're going to talk about is the first.
Also, this is a big fucking deal that Autumn was the DP on Sinners, because Sinners was a high budget film. Sinners was had a $90 million budget. And the ratio of female cinematographers working in indie films as opposed to big blockbusters is really bad. That for women in the cinematography field, usually the opportunities, as still few and far between as they are in indie film. The big budget gigs go to men. So the fact that she's the first woman who won this cinematography Oscar, and also did so in a major film. It's nice hearing her go into the technicals a bit, even though I don't understand any of it. I love hearing somebody who is amazing at their craft talk about their craft.
Time you would see Remick, the scene actually opens the script. And I remember when I read it, I was blown away because I'm like, where did he come up with this stuff? And I remember asking him later, like, where he came up with it. And he's very good at just writing things that just jump off the page and get people excited. And that comes from kind of his love of cinema and being in the theater. So it opened the script, and in the editing process, he ended up with our awesome editor, Michael Shaver, he ended up kind of taking that and putting it, further down in the timeline, but it did originally come first in the script. So it's about Remick's kind of entrance into the film and trying to approach this kind of desolate farmhouse where he meets these two farmers, and he is trying to get in the house and
Almost as if maybe more women would win if they were given the opportunity. Wait, yeah. Who was what's the thing I'm thinking of? Some male prick who said women aren't winning more because they need to step up. What was that? What am I talking about? What was that moment? Who was that? So I know that this could probably apply to multiple situations, but I'm like, was it the president of the? No, it wasn't Djokovic. He's also saying that shit. Oh wait, yes, I think it had to do with the Grammys. Ex-president said women need to. Yes. Yeah. Good pull. So the Grammys president faces backlash after saying women need to step up. Of course, it's a photo of Neil Portnow with James Corden. Love to say women need to step up. Taking a photo here with James Corden. Following the 60th annual Grammys on Sunday, 2 words uttered backstage by Neil Portnow, this was in 2018, has drawn the president of the Recording Academy, ignited a controversy that's drawn rebukes from some of the most powerful women in music at a particularly fraught time amid the Me Too and Time's Up movements against harassment and professional inequality. Asked about the gender representation among winners on the televised portion of the awards, during which just one woman was given a solo Grammy, Mr. Portnow told reporters that women who have the creativity in their hearts and souls, who want to be musicians, who want to be engineers, producers, and want to be part of the industry on the executive level, need to step up. See, ladies, it's not any type of systemic barriers. It's because you're not stepping up hard enough. The comments were first reported by Variety, spread quickly online, and gave a viral push to the budding hashtag Grammys So Male. This is the big hashtag era. Hashtag Oscars So White, hashtag Me Too, hashtag Grammys So Male, hashtag BLM. Yeah, women, you just need to work harder. You just need to want it more, okay? You want to go be an executive in the music industry? Try harder. Come on, girls. Let's go, girls. You need to lock the fuck in. You want to be at any level of the music industry? You just need to lock the fuck in and try harder. What? Like it's hard? What? Come on. The day I let a straight man tell me to step my pussy up will be the day I die. No, that will be the day he dies. Actually, please don't become music execs. It's just obviously so ignorant and foolish and completely ignoring the reality. Women are not winning less awards. Women are not getting less opportunities because they're simply not trying hard enough. They're just simply not locked in enough. They simply don't want it enough. That is not the truth. It's never been the truth.
and take cover because he's claiming to be chased by some Choctaw.
Back up.
Yeah, I gotta help. I thought I could trust them, but they tried to kill me.
You know, it was important for Ryan that you kind of give a hint at the fact that he can fly, right? So if you think about it as seeing that first, Jack was on a box. He jumped off the box. And we did it a few times to get it right because Ryan wanted it, to look a certain way because you're close to camera, actors close to camera.
If only
and,
women tried.
You want it to feel like they're jumping
Only
from
they
somewhere
tried
higher,
harder.
right? But it's actually, he's jumping from an apple box. It just hints at the fact that maybe he's flying. It's written in a way that kind of like you have these baby steps to figuring out who he is and what powers he has. It was more about execution on the day.
Have women just thought about being equal and then equality will be achieved?
Making sure that looked very powerful because I think that was very important to Ryan, that it was a really grand entrance for Remick. I mean, a scene like that, you're always going to have to organize it really
want a sequel
well
with the
all
Choctaw Vampire
departments
Hunters.
because it's magic hour, right? It's
I'd be down for
sunset and
that.
then it's the blue hour after sunset. So you can't shoot a scene like that in that perfect time, right? You'd have to do it over a few days. So luckily we had 2 days to shoot it. We shot it for 1 day and then we
Women just try
went
harder.
back to complete some work, which allowed us more time to get in camera. And it's really about the weather. You can get very unlucky in places like, New Orleans, because really strong weather can come in and kind of take your blue skies away from you. So those 2 days we shot that, we were very lucky to get sunny
Lily
days
Gladstone,
because in the
Vampire
script
Hunter?
it's important to see the sun break the horizon and what that means for the storytelling. When I do VFX, I always make sure there's a reference in the camera, because if you're going to be doing some sky replacement or trying to match other shots that were shot earlier in the day, you always want to give VFX a reference of what it should look like in camera. There are shots in the sequence that the Choctaw come and they're looking and watching the sunset drop. Those are all in camera. Beautiful shots. Actually, the IMAX camera jammed right before we were about to shoot that one shot of him looking at the sun on the horse, and you see over his shoulder and you see the sun dropping. So that's for real. We fixed the jam and we literally rolled right before it kind of, set. So VFX, what they do is they're able to do some sky replacement in order to match and make sure that sequence is all consistent, because it's a very long sequence that all has to be at that, within like 10 minutes of when the sun's setting.
That's
We
true.
always
There is a vampire hunter that needs help.
work with VFX like that. It's very important to Ryan and myself that, the images feel real and that nothing takes you out, even though there is VFX. And I think, shooting this type of format, you want the format to sing and you want as much as you can to be in camera. So it was I think that whole sequence was very complex as far as scheduling and making sure that we got that time of day. And, you have to do the shots inside looking out and outside looking in, which can be time consuming. And you also have to remember it's IMAX, so it's not a sync sound camera. So Ryan had lots of discussions with the actors about, being okay with shooting this kind of dialogue heavy scene with a very, very loud camera. And the camera is very close to their faces and can be very loud. So you don't want to project over the camera, because that'd be a telltale sign of having that, there. So they all did such a beautiful job, and, they did ADR afterwards. We had cameras on cranes, and there's a lot of kind of moving shots like an old Western, and being able to kind of track with the horses. And it's a beautiful scene. I'm kind of most proud of that scene, I think, because it's something that you watch after the fact and you were a part of it, but it feels like you're watching an old movie. The most interesting part of that sequence is originally we envisioned it being on our anamorphic 276 format because we knew there was a lot of dialogue, but then Ryan decided to change it to IMAX, which was, I think, the best decision, because I can't really see that sequence being not in IMAX. And that was something that he did and spoke with the actors about. So we had IMAX camera out there, and we used two lenses, the 50mm and the 80mm Panavision IMAX lenses that were created for Christopher Nolan and Hoyte.
Those
I
are
prefer
so
Panavision
expensive
glass, and
too.
Ryan was okay with kind of having those two focals throughout the film in order to tell.
There's not just pressure to get the fucking shots. There is pressure that you do not break these lenses. You do not break these cameras.
So obviously our wides are on the 50, and then our close-up work is on the 80. The 80 is a very beautiful lens, and very shallow depth of field. And so
Nolan
for all my focus pullers, my A and B focus puller, it's very hard work to do that.
Okay. The IMAX MSM 9802 cameras that Nolan frequently uses are like $500,000. Each of those cameras is around $500,000. Which is so
type of
intense.
shooting, and I shoot wide open. So yeah, I'm very proud of that scene. Everyone did a fantastic
Rig
job.
plus
I've
lens,
worked with
another
this team
$200K.
before. We always create these environments that feel very real and textured, and there's so many layers. So I think when I walk into the space,
Yeah, so basically one of those cam setups can run you over $1 million.
Having that kind of like way of taking her down the hallway and it being very mysterious and having it be a little lower so you can see the light kicking up on the ceiling. Like all of these things are all these layers that are so exciting, inspiring. So when I go into these spaces, it's very easy to know where the camera should be. At least for me, it's very felt. And I tend to center punch everything. So what's great about the IMAX format and being able to transition ratios is, I'm keeping most things in the center of frame. So when they have to be cropped for the 276 version that most audiences will see, you don't have to do too much repositioning. I find that, the frames speak more to me when things are kind of grounded in the center. The hero of the frame is the actor, and so what's important I tend to put in the center. I think that lens, using the 80 for the close-ups and the 50 for the wides, made a lot of sense. And I think the shooting in the scene is beautiful because it's also very economic. Every shot has a purpose. We set up the B camera on the crane to get the Choctaw walking out of the truck and up to the front door. And then once he was there, we were able to kind of cover and get our close-up work because we had very limited time to get that scene facing out. And so all of that stuff, in the moment, makes a lot of sense. And the beautiful costumes and the landscape. We actually found that landscape, and Hannah built the farmhouse on that. And, we went there, and it's important that it's orientated in the right position for the sun to set, for all the storytelling, and to see kind of them go away. And Ryan had that thought in his mind when he was writing it. So in prep, we found the right place in order to get all of those shots to tell that story. So that was
she's the real frame mogger.
Lovely to be able to find that location and have her build it out perfectly from scratch. It's my second time around with this team, and we work very well together, and we're able to kind of elevate each other's department all the time. We're always trying to inspire each other and, be able to do justice to what Ryan writes on the page, because he's probably one of the most inspiring people you'll ever be around. So day to day, you're really excited about the images you're creating. For me, it's always I want to make the perfect image for what he wrote on the page, essentially.
The other thing too is a lot of times
this camera cost
well-established, directors, auteurs who have typically also been men because of barriers for women. Just 11% of big blockbuster films last year, I think, were directed by women, so it's still majority men. They use the same DPs, right? They use the same teams. And that's also why that's another barrier for women, for people of color, because a lot of times established directors for years they work with the same people, which I get. It's like when you find kind of a rhythm with other craftspeople, you like to work together a lot. Why fix what ain't broke? But it means too that it's very it's very hard to break in, which is why it's not just for DPs, but also in indie film, having more opportunity there, but writers, directors, women just are still stuck more in the indie world because they are not interested. Well, we just simply can't have women working on these big budgeted films because it's too much of a risk. No matter that a male director can have multiple flops, David O. Russell, and still get opportunities. Okay. Christopher Nolan destroyed 2 IMAX cameras.
$1 million. Christopher Nolan is all about practical effects. But did you know he accidentally destroyed 2 of the most expensive IMAX cameras ever made? The first one was crushed, filming the insane truck flip in The Dark Knight. The camera was set too close, and boom, $500,000 gone. Second, even crazier. While filming a Batpod chase, the stunt driver lost control, and Batman's bike slammed straight into the IMAX camera. But hey, Nolan's all about getting the perfect shot, even if it means a little collateral damage. Would you risk a $500,000 camera for a scene? Let me know.
Boom, $500,000 gone.
This camera cost
Oh, God, just got in. Did you see Eve Hartlow's insane tweet? Yes, I did. Yes. Key, imagine if a woman director scratched the side of one of those IMAX cameras. Oh, I know. He did it again on Dunkirk and purposely drowned it. Yeah, he has destroyed many an IMAX camera over the years. He's done. Here's a longer video of him doing it.
This video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends.
I've been working with the IMAX.
Hell yeah, Raid Shadow Legends.
IMAX.
Christopher Nolan has an unhealthy obsession with film and IMAX cameras, as we all know and love, or some of you hate him. But this obsession with using IMAX to the extreme has been a very costly one for him over the years, as he has pushed these cameras to the brink, and in some cases to the point of no return.
Yeah, I'm just gonna skip ahead. Here's the Dunkirk.
Cinematographer Hoyt van Hoytema made it clear that if this was digital, all that footage would be lost, and Nolan wouldn't just need to hire the divers to rescue the footage. He'd need to buy a whole new plane to crash. And one has to wonder, will Christopher Nolan yet again find a creative way to destroy yet another IMAX camera in his upcoming movie Oppenheimer?
Raid Shadow Legends developers are based in Israel.
But
Boo,
perhaps this
Raid
time
Shadow
it was with an
Legends.
atomic bomb. Well, hopefully that's not the case, because you should definitely check out this video on the special black and white IMAX film he's using for that movie right here. Don't forget to use my Raid.
Does he pay for the cameras or does the studio own them? So they are rented from IMAX. They are IMAX cameras. I was reading something about Christopher Nolan owes. Yeah, at one. Let's see. His 15. One. Christopher Nolan destroyed 3 of these amazing cameras, totaling a whopping $1.5 million. That was on Oppenheimer, I think.
Raid Shadow Legends link in the description, or scan my QR code to get insane bonuses for new players with an epic champion. You can click that right here.
I mean, I feel like he doesn't actually pay it himself. It's probably the production company, I don't think this is coming. I don't think it's coming out of Christopher Nolan's own pocket. It is coming out of the budget. It's the production company that's on the hook for every IMAX camera that Christopher Nolan destroys.